So today we are going to go through a couple of problems with this factoring with special patterns worksheet. Again, this is posted in Google Classroom under the material for April 6th through 9th, and it should be the last thing that you see in that group of material that's posted. It should be posted as the 4, and it probably says 4B because you are watching the video with 4A, so 4B is the assignment. You can feel free to just write the problems down on a separate piece of paper. You can print this out, or you can download it and write it directly on your device. So this is the factoring with special patterns that we talked about yesterday. If you would look at the worksheet, notice that the worksheet is definitely a mix of the two patterns that we worked with. So before we do any of them, I wanted to just remind us of those two patterns at the top. The first pattern is when there are two terms. And when there are two terms, it's called a difference of perfect squares, or a difference of two squares. That pattern is A plus B, A minus B. So two terms is a binomial called a difference of two squares. It has its own pattern. The other pattern is a trinomial, and that's when there are three terms, so a squared. It's either going to say a plus or a minus. 2ab and then plus b squared. We factor that with a and then either a plus or a minus b and squared. So I was going to go through the worksheet, and in blue I'm going to circle all of the problems that are two terms. So the 1, 2, and 3 are two terms. That means they get factored like the first pattern, a squared minus b squared. 6 and 8 are also two terms. Looking at 10, 11, 14, and 15, 18. All of them are two terms. So in blue, I have them circled because I'm going to factor that with the pattern of two terms. So that means the rest, I'll put a little box around them, are trinomials, and they factor with the trinomial pattern at the top of my page on the right. So these are trinomials. So there's two different ways to factor with special patterns, and you have to decide which way you use based off of the number of terms in your problem. So if we look at number 1 together, we have x squared minus 9. The first thing, check for a GCF. Well, it's just x squared, so there's not a GCF. The second thing, we need to take the square root. A is x. The square root of 9 is 3. And now because there are two terms, my pattern means something plus, something minus. So think about what is the pattern when there are two terms. So my A was x, the B was 3. X plus 3, x minus 3. So numbers 2 and 3 are exactly like that one we just did. All right, looking underneath, working through another problem. Number 4 has 3 terms, so that means I need to follow the 3-term pattern. The key thing here is the plus sign, so that pattern is something plus because there's a plus, and then it's squared. So maybe write the pattern first. Just write like a basic kind of diagram for you so you know where to plug numbers in. Take the square root. The square root of y squared is y. The square root of 144 is 12. I need to see this little work step here. A little work step there. Tiny bit of work. And then we would have y plus 12 squared. So again, 5, 7, and 9 are just like number 4. All right, so going to number 8. Two terms means it's that two-term pattern. Number 10, two terms. It's the two-term pattern. Same thing with 11. So let's look at number 10. I think this one has a GCF. We can't forget about that GCF question. Is there a GCF? Well, 4 and 64 are both divisible by 4. So the answer is yes, there is a GCF. We need to take out that GCF first if it has one. So 4 divided by 4 is just 1, y squared. 64 divided by 4 is 16. So two numbers, two terms, means my pattern should be a plus and a minus. There was a GCF, so I'm writing that GCF down in front as well. And then, forgetting about the first problem, I need to take the square root of y squared, that's just y. The square root of 16 is 4. So there's my little bit of work. Y plus 4, y minus 4. Lots of 4's in the problem. So the GCF was a 4, and then I have y plus 4, y minus 4. So it looks like 11, 14, those two have GCFs as well. We're going to go over to number 12, doing another problem with 3 terms. So that's my 3-term pattern. Right away, I'm looking here. It's a minus, so I need a minus, and it's going to be squared because there are 3 terms. After I think about that pattern, the second question, is there a GCF? Well, 18, 12, and 2, they're all divisible by 2, so we're going to take out a 2. And if I take out a 2, 18 divided by 2 is 9. 12 divided by 2 is 6. 2 divided by 2 is 1. So I'm placing the GCF in front, bringing that down so that it's with my pattern. And then the last step is to take out or take the square root. So square root. My a term, the square root of 9 is 3 with an a. Square root of 1, this is one that gets forgotten about. The square root of 1 is 1. 1 times 1 makes 1. So finally, we have 3a minus, because there was a minus in the original problem, and then 1. And then that's squared. So 13, 14, 17 are like number 12. 13, 14, 16, and 17 actually. So 13, 16, and 17. I'm sorry. Those bottom 3 are like number 12. So you have seen 2 problems without a GCF, one of each type. And then you got to see 2 problems with a GCF, again, one of each type. So your homework is to finish the rest of this worksheet. It is due on Tuesday. Tuesday is the 14th of April. There will be a Zoom session on Tuesday for us to work through any review problems. There will also be another little review video for you to work through, and then I'll have a review worksheet. On Wednesday, there will be a quiz that looks pretty much like this, and that quiz is on the special patterns. If you have any questions, email me or Mr. Long. Have a great day.